Right, so here I am in the top room of the Fenton in Leeds on Woodhouse Lane, and this is the room where the Kaiser Chiefs started out their professional career in November 2000 as a band called Parva 21 years ago. Today is November the 9th, 2021. And their first gig as Parva, when they were Runston Parva, you can hear the floorboards creaking below me then. There's this little hatch under the stairs. Funny, because the band that pulled out was called Hatch. And they pulled out of a gig here, booked 23rd of November 2000, and I needed a replacement. And in came Parva, who were Runston Parva, and 3 years later, or 4 years later, they changed the name to Kaiser Chiefs. So here it is, the stage, and the bar, which wasn't there back then. A little tiny bar on top of this pub, the Fenton, Woodhouse Lane, Leeds, opposite the BBC studios, or the old BBC studios of Broadcasting House. But in this time, in this room, 150 people packed out, charging £3.50 a head, £3 concessions. So I made £300 or so, must have been 150, whatever it was, made about £300 and divided it between 13 people. And a producer called Dave Crefeld was in his corner here, who was the producer of Embrace at Bowman Street Studios in Huddersfield. So he produced Embrace's debut album, The Good Will Out, which was released in July or June 1998. And here we go. So the band were over here, the Parva, chatting to another band called Udinese, who were friends of David Jones, Edmundo Jones, who was a Huddersfield-based songwriter and events promoter nowadays. Dr. Jones is actually a PhD. And Udinese were named after this Italian football club called, obviously, that name. And I remember Ricky Wilson and Simon Ricks, or Baines, whatever it's called, and Peanut from the band, Nick Baines, all chatting to them over there. I was sat here, just in this corner where this bar is, doing all the last minute prep and planning. The gig was already about to start. But yeah, Simon Ricks and Nick Wilson and Ricky Wilson, whatever they're called, Nick Baines, Ricky Wilson, were over there chatting to Udinese about the name of the band, and a few years later, Parva changed the name to Kaiser Chiefs. Previously they'd been called Runston Parva, named after the local village, somewhere in York, or like Ilkley, I don't know, somewhere in Yorkshire. And a few years later, the name Kaiser Chiefs was born from the South African footballer Lucas Radebe, who played for Leeds United. That's it, that's the story.